According to the Bible, the role of a woman in teaching is a topic that has been interpreted and understood differently by Christian denominations and scholars. They use different passages in the Bible to cite and support different perspectives on this issue. One commonly referenced passage is found in the New Testament of the Bible, specifically in the letters of Paul. 1 Timothy 2:12, Paul writes that I do not permit a woman to teach or to assume authority over the man. She must learn in silence. This verse has been understood by many to mean that women should not hold teaching positions or exercise authority over men within the context of the church or outside the church. Different Christian denominations and individual believers attempt to manipulate these passages and others differently, leading to a range of practices regarding women in teaching roles. Some denominations may restrict women from certain teaching positions, while others may affirm and encourage women to teach and lead in various capacities. So the question is, should women teach?
See it and say neighbor, say neighbor.
I was just so caught up in what I felt like God was telling me to do.
I never called myself into ministry. God called me when I was 18 years old to preach the gospel.
We're all on a different path because no two paths are alike. But God's got us all on the road to victory.
So let's start off by reading Luke 13:23. Then said one unto him, Yeshua, are there few that be saved? And he said unto them, strive to enter in at the strait gate, for many, I say unto you, will seek to enter in and not be able. Yeshua's followers inquire about the number of people who will be saved. His response is simple: enter through the strait gate, which represents the commandments. Many will attempt to enter, but will not succeed. The Bible often poses a challenge, as some believe it's their responsibility to persuade a large group of people to follow the ways of the highest. However, Yeshua clarifies, this path is only reserved for the few, not for the many. Therefore, I do not invest time in trying to convince the masses. Verse 25. Once the master of the house is risen up and has shut the door, and ye begin to stand without and to knock at the door, saying, Yeshua, Yeshua, open unto us. And he shall answer and say unto you, I know not whence you are. I have been here long enough to know that everyone thinks that their way is right, but all will soon find out when the master comes back. Verse 26. Then shall you begin to say, we have eaten and drunken in thy presence, and thou hast taught in our streets. But he shall say, I tell you, I know not whence ye are. Depart from me, all you workers of iniquity. The way of truth is not meant for the masses. It is reserved for the few. Many will come across these teachings and choose to follow their own path, finding ways to rationalize and make excuses. However, they will end up empty-handed. It is essential to understand that there is no point in partially following the master's will. It's an all-or-nothing commitment. The subject is, should women teach? Now let's get into the meat of it. Exodus chapter 19 verse 9. And the Most High said to Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Most High. And the Most High said unto Moses, Go unto the people, sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the third day. For the third day the Most High will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai, and thou shalt set the bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that you go not up unto the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall surely be put to death. There shall not a hand touch it, but he shall surely be stoned or shot through, whether it be beast or man. It shall not live. And when the trump sounds long, they shall come up to the mount. And Moses went down from the mount unto the people, and sanctified the people, and they washed their clothes. He did exactly as the Most High said. And he said unto the people, Be ready against the third day, but come not with your wives. The Most High is about to reinstitute the commandments to Israel and establish the rules. It is important to understand that there are specific guidelines for approaching the Most High. Contrary to some beliefs, it is not permissible to approach the Most High in any way one chooses. The notion is unfounded. In this case, the children of Israel must ensure that they have clean clothes, clean bodies when approaching the Most High. Additionally, it is necessary to note that wives were not present during this particular event, as their role did not involve teaching. It is important to just accept that fact. Genesis 4:6. And the Most High said unto Cain, Why are you angry? And why is thy countenance fallen? If thou do well, thou shalt be accepted. And if thou do not well, sin lies at the door. and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. Don't be angry when you hear the Most High's words. Take your time and read it for yourself and obey. Everything is a process. Now let's read Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 1. All the people were gathered themselves together as one man in the street that was before the water gate, and they spake unto Ezra the scribe to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Most High had commanded to Israel. And Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both men and women, and all that could hear with understanding, upon the first day of the 7th month. And he read therein before the street that was before the water gate, from the morning until midday, before the men and women and those that could understand, and the ears of all the people that were attentive unto the book of the law. And Ezra the scribe stood on a pulpit of wood, which they had made for the purpose. And beside him stood Mattaniah, and Shema, and Ananiah, and Urijah, and Hekiah, and Maaseiah at his right hand. And on his left hand was Pedaiah, and Mishael, and Malchiah, and Hashem, and Hashbaddanah, Zechariah, and Meshullam. This is the Israelites returning from slavery in Babylon. Nehemiah is telling the story of the Feast of Tabernacles. During this feast, the Israelites were instructed to build temporary booths or shelters to dwell in for 7 days, as a memory of the time when their ancestors wandered in the wilderness after Exodus from Egypt. Although women and men are both present in the congregation, the men only were in the front teaching. The Most High created both men and women, but each have their distinct capabilities and specialties. We should love and embrace those differences. Ezra and Nehemiah hold a special place for me among the books of the Bible. Their stories resonate with me because of the similarities they share with the current Israelite situation today. After they read from the book of the law and came to understand that their suffering was a result of disobeying the commandments, they wept inconsolably. However, the Feast of Tabernacles is a day of celebration, not a day of tears. Currently, we find ourselves emerging from a state of captivity and attempting to piece together our history. The key to achieving that lies in wholeheartedly obeying what is written and refraining from introducing our own interpretations. So when we read, women are not to teach, we just listen. 1 Timothy 2:9. In like manner also, the women adorn themselves in modest apparel, with shamefacedness and sobriety, not with broidered hair, or gold, or pearls, or costly array, which becometh women professing godliness with good works. Let the woman learn in silence, with all subjection. But I suffer a woman not to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if she continue in faith and charity and holiness with sobriety. Paul is explaining nothing has changed from the Old Testament, though many wish they would change. Paul mentions Adam and Eve as to illustrate that the Most High instituted the role of the woman and man from the beginning. 1 Corinthians 14:34. Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted to them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as so says the law. If they learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for a woman to speak in the church. Various Christian denominations build their entire beliefs on the misinterpretation of Paul's letters. Interestingly, they tend to overlook Paul's clear statement that a woman should not take up teaching roles, which to me is insane. So now let's take a different perspective and look at the book of Acts, chapter 18, verse 24. And a certain Jew named Apollos, born in Alexandria, an eloquent man, mighty in scriptures, came to Ephesus. This man was instructed in the way of the Most High, and being fervent in spirit, he spake and taught diligently the things of the Most High, knowing only the baptism of John. And he began to speak boldly in the synagogue, whom when Aquila and Priscilla had heard, they took him unto them, and expounded him the way of Elohim more perfectly. Some women like to use this example of Aquila and Priscilla teaching Apollos to support their stance. However, as followers of the Most High, it is crucial to thoroughly examine the scriptures and avoid using one passage to invalidate another, as this can lead to confusion and disorder. In this case, Apollos had only received John's baptism, and his understanding was incomplete because he was not aware of Yeshua's baptism and the baptism of the Spirit of the Most High. When it mentions Aquila and Priscilla took him unto them, it means they privately took him aside. It was not in a public setting. They filled in the missing pieces of his knowledge. Everything that occurred here aligns with Paul's teachings. There are no contradictions. They do not assume the role of a formal teacher or preacher. It is entirely acceptable for a woman to privately pull a man aside and share knowledge with a man and show him something he might be unaware of. In fact, it should be expected, as she is the helper of the man. Revelation chapter 2 verse 19. I know thy works, and charity, and service, and faith, and thy patience, and thy works, and the last to be more than the first. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, who calls herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants, to commit fornication, and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. In the book of Revelation, there was a church where a woman was taking on a teaching role. Yeshua's message to the church is clear. There is a concern regarding the presence of a Jezebel spirit in this woman who desires to teach or to hold a position of authority. It's worth noting that she identifies herself as a prophetess. Today we encounter individuals who display the same characteristics. If you recognize this spirit within yourself, it is important to address it and rectify it as soon as possible, as it will cause you not to enter into the kingdom. Ezekiel chapter 2 verse 7. And thou shalt speak my words unto them, and whether they will hear or whether they will forbear, for they are most rebellious. But thou, son of man, hear what I say unto thee. Be not rebellious like that rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat what I give thee. Avoid attempting to rationalize or dilute the profound teachings of scriptures. Instead, immerse yourself in the depth and the richness. Remember, the wisdom held within them is like a boundless ocean waiting to be explored. Embrace the commandments. They hold the potential to transform your life. Disregard any inclination to take a passive stance, for you have the opportunity to walk along the great patriarchs of faith, such as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. By wholeheartedly embracing these sacred commandments, you will be able to be an active participant in the journey of spiritual enlightenment and not find yourself thrown out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.